how do, how do I say that, for the, first,
For the-
I would like, first, I make a motion that Kevin Justy, design the parameters that he wants for the Grove Library website, and that we give that bid, that we ask the three companies to rebid based on those specs and recommendations.
May I make a suggestion? It is traditional and appropriate to direct the director to use appropriate staff to achieve that.
Yes.
And not single out a particular member of staff to do that.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay.
Good enough.
So there's a motion on the floor to rebid with the three bidders that had previously submitted the bids. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call vote.
Berg,
Yes.
Callaby,
Yes.
Goldstein.
No.
Hoppin, no. Peters,
Yes.
Quinn,
I think yes, I want to rebid. I think by design, I think I'm a yes now. Yes, I want to rebid. Now that we've all majority said no.
Go do the bids.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Okay, what other companies?
And there's more in the librarian's report.
Librarian's report.
I think I will trust that you have, let's see if there's anything.
At what, will we be discussing the parade?
Whenever you place it on the agenda.
Oh, well, I didn't know if that would come under librarian's report
No,
since you
that's,
received that email, or
No,
is that?
you had said you would take care of that, so I left that in your
Okay,
hands.
leave it up then. That's fine. Any unfinished business?
Polo to reference, polo to reference.
None. Let's move to new business. The renewal wellness insurance network contract.
I received the cost information on May 26th, which is why it was not brought up at the May meeting. So, there is an increase, I'm working off the top of my head right now. 25%, but comparing that to our previous carrier, Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're still less than their bid price when we went to Wellness Insurance Network, and we are certainly considerably less than their projected increase for an operation like ours for the coming year. So wellness still stays to be a very good cost savings for us.
Do you have bids from other health insurance companies?
No.
Is there a reason that we don't have any?
We usually go with a health insurance company for a couple of years, and I keep track on them, since they are less costly than our last vendor, who was the least costly of the ones we looked at before. Once I had the cost information, that's what I reported out. Now, under their contract, the board may decide at any time to leave wellness insurance and sign with another insurance company. So if the board wishes to seek bids from other insurance companies, we can certainly engage a broker to do that for us.
Well, I would suggest that. Yeah, go
Can
ahead.
I ask a question though? Because if I look at the renewal standpoint, so this is basically starting as of July 1. So just from a timing standpoint,
We need to approve this.
We need
know how
to-
to
It
insurance.
can be done.
okay, thank you, that's what I need to know. Thank
Right.
you.
If at some point the board wishes to have a discussion about whether there's a better value out there,
Yeah.
Okay.
May I have your
I have
attention,
just one
please?
question. You said they raised the rates 25%?
yes, a
Did they
few
say
years ago,
why?
it was a very bad plan year. In other words, they had a large number of, what's interesting, this is a self-funded plan, so the costs are borne directly by all the members. 2 years prior, they had a 15% reduction, so the plan increase over 6 or 7%.
Actually had a reduction.
They
in
had a
health
reduction.
insurance?
They had a reduction in health insurance.
You should
Yeah.
understand something too. Wellness insurance is covering about a dozen libraries like ours.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
We're
why
not
we're
the
having
only-
that, we're
right.
having that,
And that's the
conflict.
advantage of being with them.
Right. It's a
But you have a
self-funded
bigger
pool.
pot,
Yeah,
it diffuses the expenditure.
Right,
exactly.
and that's the other thing that they've discussed, they are going to grow the group of libraries. One of the things that has changed in this, the various regional library systems, North Suburban was ours, many of them are combining. The new one that serves us is called Rails, and it covers northern Cook County, DuPage, Lake County. So that group will be, some of those libraries will be moving in, so we can see a larger pool
How
into the
is-
self-funded group.
How is the increase shared? Is it shared, is it completely covered by the library? Is it covered partially by the employees? Is it
Our library covers at $10 a month, the library picks up the balance. There was an unofficial survey of other libraries in the area, and it ranged from complete coverage by the library, for several, to, I believe, about $40 or so. So we fall in the bottom
So just
30%.
25%, will it be picked up entirely by our budget, by the taxpayer budget, or will some of the employees have to kick in a few bucks?
The
Or
current
how do we
current
decide?
personnel policy is it's $10 a month per employee who is covered. That's, so if the board wishes to change policy on that,
We have to go
that's,
through the change.
you would have to, you would have to get onto the agenda and you'd have to make the change, but you could do that.
Okay.
Do the employees pick out a plan, or is?
No, we cover
one-
them at one plan. The way the board agreed to do this last year when we joined WIN is that to keep coverage comparable to what we had under Blue Cross Blue Shield, we went with the gold plan in WIN. However, we had one, maybe more employees who wished to cover, there's a catch in how they had to do it. They wanted to cover a dependent child. And for that to be affordable, they were, in that specific case, not that person, but defining that case, they were allowed to opt out down to the bronze so they could then cover a dependent child. The coverage for dependent child, or in my case, I cover my family. Those non-employee costs are covered completely by the employee. The library contributes nothing towards spouse, family, child, dependent care, anything like that.
It's only employee.
It's only employee. The FSA is covered completely by the employee. Dental is covered completely by the employee.
As a dollar amount, how much is that 25% for, say, one person? What more are we adding up? Just rough- just
It's
box-
actually,
Just box number.
I just like doing box numbers because somebody comes back and tells me it's off by a few cents.
$175.
The increase is $175, $174.
You're talking about plans like gold, silver, or bronze.
Right.
In my language, we call it either PPO, HMO, or whatever.
No, it's PPO. It's not
It's
HMO.
PPO.
It's PPO, not HMO. So,
But the one you're going with is PPO, the gold.
the gold, but I think they're all PPO. But
They
again, since I
they
have,
don't have a true HMO because they're
Right.
self-funded.
They're
There is
self-funded.
no,
Oh, okay.
so these are different levels of coverage within a PPO-like plan.
Sounds like decent coverage.
well,
It's very decent. We actually explored getting coverage for trustees. They were not happy about that, but we could always explore that again
that's
this
okay.
year.
Trustees.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm
We
good.
don't need it.
Getting old anyway.
It'd be not a bad plan year then, right?
Could be.
Dan, I have a few concerns about this, and I'm glad you said that if we want to leave this plan, we can leave it without any penalty?
Correct.
Right,
That
whenever?
is my understanding.
Okay.
A little bit of history, when we changed this plan to this plan from Blue Cross Blue Shield, for the years prior to that, we had an insurance broker who would come yearly with bids from 6 different insurance firms, the top 60 medical insurance firms, and Blue Cross Blue Shield always, was the bid that we accepted. So these prices this year, even with the raise, are less than what we left Blue Cross and Blue Shield at. Their raises pretty much annually were in the 19% raises. So I mean, I'm sure their rates went up this year also. And if they were the best of the group then, it's hard to imagine a better group out there now that it's gonna come at a lower price than this.
That's the normal procedure, brokers come in
Yeah,
and show their
But-
wares.
but
and
the
you
broker
pay.
also got part of
Right,
that
right.
money.
This way
So-
they're getting no profit. It's all
I'd
used.
like to give you a little bit more information on that. A couple of things that makes Win being totally self-funded. If you look on our, what was given to us in our packet items, Win is running quite a deficit, and it's a small company. And the year that they gave the decrease, if you look on it, 4 columns in, if you look at the bottom, they had a $1.1 million profit that year. And so they rewarded their people by giving a 15% decrease in the funds. The following year, they lost $500,000. This current year, they're projected to lose $750,000. And even after the 25% rate increase, they're still expecting to lose close to $500,000. I have some concerns about the financial stability of such a small pool that is running such a large deficit. So because of that, I called the adjoining libraries, I called Niles and I called Skokie to see what they were doing. And Skokie Library used to be a part of WIN, and they pulled out. And they have, for the last couple of years, have been part of a group called Limerick. Limerick is Blue Cross Blue Shield. They are a true HMO, and they also have 2 PPO plans. I have this year's breakdown for what they're charging their libraries. For their HMO plan, it's $511.12 versus our $800. That's for their HMO plan. For their PPO plan, it's $536.66. And for the low deductible PPO plan, it's $636.55. The only additional fee on that is a $5 per month per employee administrative charge. So the easiest way to figure out these numbers would be, it would be $515, add $5 to each one of these. This is significantly less. It's full Blue Cross Blue Shield coverage.
HMO.
No, PPO's different.
There's an
You have a
age. So if I can,
You have your
Kathy,
choice.
so
I think
Kathy,
it's
if I
recorded.
can kind of shorten this up,
Yeah.
you might be encouraging Ben to send this out for bid.
Yes, I had, yesterday, I believe you received this email from,
No, I got a fax from them with no explanation as to why it
oh,
was coming,
okay.
so.
Well, there was
thank you
an
for
email,
filling me in.
right,
Now
from
is
Scott,
why
Scott Remenga, who he tried to email it to you, the file was too big, so he gave you the email and
For
filed
whatever
it up with
reason,
the fax.
A fax landed on my desk
Right.
yesterday.
And,
Once the board directs,
Okay.
then we'll do whatever we need to do.
yeah, I would, I asked Mr. Remenga if it would be possible to get our staff covered with this plan by July 1st, since we're so up against the wall. And he said that it would be possible. Of course, it would take an emergency meeting of the board to sign the contract, but
So
if
there's
we
a
sign this
deadline on it?
contract, well, our people's coverage, it runs from a July 1st to a July 1st. So in order for us, for our people to
We got 3 weeks
stay
window.
covered.
Do you envision any input from the staff, since it is their
Definitely.
families?
Exactly, right.
That's good.
And he said that he could meet with them,
So
explain it.
you're proposing that we simply go with this firm without any comparative analysis?
No, well, I would have loved some comparative analysis, but I wasn't given any. But if you want to get more comparative analysis, that would be absolutely great
Well, I
with
think
me.
that would be the diligent thing
But
to
if we-
do
but
at some
if
point in
we-
the future.
if we went with this, we would be saving $72,000 over our healthcare costs for next year. And I think it would be worth it. I would like to talk, what I would like to do would be to have the staff be able to meet with these folks to see our problem once again is that we're up against the wall.
So right now, we need to
Right.
get insurance for.
Right, we need to get insurance for our people, but right now, it's gonna be $800. And at the very top, the HMO is 511, the PPO regular is 543, and the low deductible is
Okay,
636.
good, okay, good.
Yeah,
In a bid process for new insurance, is that a couple of month process?
We would contact the broker we are currently using for some other
So,
purposes.
should we need to get out of the contract with,
We write them a letter.
okay, good. So, with that said, we'll probably want to bid this business out. But for now, we need to ensure we've got insurance for,
Right.
so with that, I'd be asking for a motion to approve the Wellness Insurance Network contract.
well,
If you are going to
we
implement
can't,
that,
because if we do,
This
then we've
July.
done it for a year. We
I
can't
just
approve it.
heard that we can cancel.
So we can make a motion to cancel it.
I just,
Where?
no, Ben stated we can.
Yeah.
My understanding is we can leave it in.
My understanding is we can't.
I don't see how they can force us to stay.
If you
I'll
quit
show
paying,
you. They force Skokie, just a second.
so
I'll
that,
find the papers,
Does our,
me and my
does
papers.
our lawyer have anything to say about this thing?
I don't think I'm familiar with this particular firm,
There we
so.
well,
go.
we have to handle 3 weeks.
it's not enough.
That's not enough time to get.
I would-
the
I
family
don't,
law.
I don't,
It's not enough.
we haven't had
No.
insurance where we couldn't.
Yeah, I've never heard of this either.
You have to see if they.
Mark, I know what happened to
Some of them
Skokie.
would rather take another pay.
County allows at least 3 months.
We
That's
were
right.
playing with doctors.
Three times the amount of employees.
I didn't.
That's,
These people stood in this room and told us. that
Glenn
we
just
could leave
reminded me that
anytime.
when we signed on
Also,
for,
I'd like to show it to
when we
you.
were doing a renewal.
Dan?
Did they say you could leave every time?
Yes, I believe that was a question that we posed to them.
Yeah, we need to
Especially
clarify that.
This is Arthur remembering this, or?
I would not, you know, at this point, going to memory is a bad thing to
Oh,
do.
yeah, I agree.
If you want to table this issue, and I can contact you later next week when we know more, if you have to call a special meeting, I'll call.
Well, we have to not let insurance lapse, so
Right.
that's primary.
I would say-
Costs us more. I don't think we can get this stuff done.
Is that one of the
Staff loves it.
wine?
I've gone
It's very,
through
very
this stuff at
cost-effective.
various companies I work for, and it's clumsy and awkward, and
Yeah.
you don't want to make
It's
employees mad.
painful.
It is,
Yeah, it's
so,
very painful, I know how it goes.
Now, do you remember that part, the first paragraph?
Let me take a look.
Dan, you got any thoughts on it?
No, I remember them standing in this room telling us that you can leave at any time.
Yeah.
That the 3-year thing
And
was
my
not,
problem is, yeah, that Skokie was held to it, and when Northbrook left, they had the same problem.
Is there anything in there that says if we don't
We
pay?
can termination of members, the board, meaning the wind board, may terminate the right of any member to participate in the plan whenever the member fails to perform any of its obligations under this agreement.
If we don't pay, they cut us off.
Right.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's a dirty way to get out of something.
And that's how it works.
And this is from when they were part of
City.
NSLS, so this document may have changed.
They
So-
held,
I realized that was some time ago, and they were part of North Suburban, and the board and the bylaws were different at the time. They have, I think, approved the bylaws in the last week. So again, I wouldn't go by the Skokie model.
okay, well then, can we please get some fast
I would-
comparative
Yeah, I would
contracts?
recommend
and then-
approval tonight, and we can take a look at stuff. We certainly, according to this, we have a clause to get out if we stop paying.
Krista, comment?
No, I make a motion that we renew, starting as of July 1, the WIN.
For how long?
Well,
I'm saying right now, I agree to renew the WIN network, starting as of July 1. That's the motion I make.
Just,
it's here, it's,
would you like me to see? Part A, B, and C.
I understand, but what I also understand is we have an obligation to the staff here to make
Oh,
sure
of
that
course.
their health benefits don't lapse. That's why.
He told me he can get with no layouts.
I know, but
But he,
we
You're
need
not
to
nothing
make
about
sure.
That's one.
But-
We need-
Because as of a year ago, that plan didn't exist.
We need a couple,
we joined
other-
Wells.
we need a couple other.
No, our broker never presented that plan to us.
We've gotta
part
give
of
the
the
staff
procedure, we
sufficient
have to have
time.
several people bid. We only got 3 weeks. It's a shame on us that we didn't start a bid process earlier.
Well,
So that's something
Can we,
we'll know to do.
okay, can I amend it to say that we, increase it for 1 quarter? For 3 months?
if they allow us to do that, we can, but the bottom line is we have to give sufficient time for staff to decide.
What we don't wanna do, is if we are tied into this contract, there is law, and we have to talk to a lawyer about this, because I'm not a lawyer, that says that one board is not tied to the contracts of the former board. If we go ahead and make a motion onto this
That's not what the law
board,
says.
yeah,
If you sign a
For the
contract, if
village.
an entity signs a contract,
It's-
you're
I know
you're
it's
bound by the
true.
terms of the contract. A prior board may not encumber, or at least that's one of the things
Yes.
going, may not encumber a future board by its own rules. That's why we allow changes to the bylaws and such like that. But this is contract law, it's different.
Do we
This
pay
one-
this on a yearly basis?
No, we pay this on a
Yeah,
monthly basis.
monthly
every,
basis.
Yeah.
every 2
That's
weeks.
good.
and
That's
it's
good.
every 2
Or
weeks.
every 2
Okay,
weeks.
fine.
That's good. That's in our favor.
Yeah.
We're not hanging ourselves.
My read on that, we can get out. Ben's read on it, Krista's,
It's time
we're
to
all
price
saying we'll
board.
get out.
If they allow
If you
staff
don't
to
pay the
control.
bill, they're not gonna cover us.
They may come after you for the,
For the breach.
Good luck,
Sure.
there's no breach.
that's possible.
Then we don't have
May
the
not be
time,
worth their
we don't
while.
have the time to compare multiple plans
Right.
and keep the insurance on
Right.
employees.
Our number one thing we have to do is keep the insurance on the employees.
Correct,
That's
and I
the
think
number
we
one
should,
thing.
As
we
Krista
should
said,
vote
we
on
need-
this now.
We need to keep it for 3 months. And this
No,
is
I
while
said
we-
that.
Or you said, well, you said, it, but we
I
need
just-
it approximately for that, so we cover our employees. Have to do that.
I know.
We have to do that, and then what?
Sufficient time for them to decide.
Okay.
1 quarter probably is good enough time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
If
we
they
do it
allow
for a
us to
quarter?
get out of it without any penalty, that's fine.
I don't know if we can call them and say, we've renewed for 1 quarter. I think we renew the contract and then make a decision within 1 quarter as to whether the board wishes to stay with this or go with another plan. But I don't think we can amend the nature of the contract with WIN in such a way that we're only saying, we're only paying for a quarter.
Well,
I
I
thought we
think,
said we can,
We
Get
can
out
leave, but
anytime.
what we need to do with WIN is approve the contract, approve our
Okay,
membership.
Can
library
we-
management needs to put it into its calendar.
right,
That on January 1st of each year, we send the healthcare out for bid.
right.
We'd be
I
glad to do
understand that.
So that,
Right.
I
that we need to do.
have a question.
That's what we were doing.
Is there a way that we can table this bid until, say, 1 week from today, so that Mr. Shapiro has enough time to make sure that he is correct about us being able to get out at any time?
But, so if the answer is no, then what are you gonna do?
We still have to go.
I mean, so if the answer comes back, just play out the scenarios. If the answer comes back, no, we can't. We now have lost a week. I mean, in reality, and so like, I mean, I'm happy to add, you know, amendments and
Okay, I see
amendments,
what
but
you're
then we really have put ourselves in a place. So I think, what I would propose, at least, and it's not official motion, but clearly I've already put one out there. But if we go back and take a look at it, you know, I think there is follow-up that needs to be made on director with our legal help, just to, you know, find out what it is. And then if we wanna go back and rebid, we've gotta include whatever liabilities would be if we have a breach of contract into the decision-making at a future date. I mean, like, that's fair, and if there is a breach of contract penalty or something, and if it offsets for whatever reason, if it gets, you know, our savings is still significantly higher, we may go choose to do that as a board. But we have got to solve this now for the staff. We've got to renew it, and I think we're all wholeheartedly there.
Mhm.
And I think it's fine that as part of the due diligence, we do the next round, we include whatever a penalty cost would be.
Okay, that sounds good.
I move to,
Is there
I think you
motion on the
second
floor,
mine.
right?
oh,
Yeah.
There's a
second.
motion,
Yeah.
there's a
We
second.
Yeah.
already had that on
yes,
the second.
Paul seconds.
half a second yours.
So you get to
Any
restate it.
discussion, any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Berg,
Yes.
Calmag,
Yes.
Goldstein, Hoffman, yes, Peters, Quinn.
Yes.
All right, carried. Board committee vacancies, let's fill these. Finance committee, I'm hoping that Goldstein, Peters would like to be on that.
Whatever you want.
If,
Sure.
I'd welcome you onto it if you'd like to. Terrific. Building and grounds, could I get Krista and Paul to work on that one?
I would be happy to.
I am, yes,
Fantastic.
happy to do that.
Policy, David Calamag and Kathy Peters.
Sure.
Sure.
All right. The executive committee, for the record, is Albers, Hoffman, and Peters. I am proposing we create a special committee, an audit committee, and this is the one that would take a look at putting together the audits that we talked about previously. I'd like that to comprise myself, David Calamag, and Kathy Peters. Which brings us up to our next subject of HVAC replacement bids. Ben?
I looked at the bids. I took the liberty to read the bids over rather carefully. And I think it was Cahill and Elm came in very close. Air Comfort, which does our scheduled maintenance, is kind of out of the ballpark.
On the second one, yeah.
Yeah, way out of the
On
ballpark.
the young guy.
So looking at it, I noted that Cahill guaranteed the heat exchanger for 10 years, which I don't know if that is a big deal.
That's probably a manufacturer's warranty, that's the one
Probably.
with the equipment.
But, whatchamacallit, the compressor were 5 years. And usually in things like that, compressor, if something's gonna go big, it's the compressor, and at least there's 5 years on that. I don't believe I saw any, Air Comfort was, I think, 1 year parts and labor for everything, and they were out of the ballpark. And I don't think Elm had anything in there about warranting anything.
Well, it would have been nice if, once again, we could have had an apples to apples. If the person who's asking for the bid would say exactly what they
No,
want,
should
so
we
the
take a
numbers
break?
could be filled in.
Yeah, I said, I mean, if
That would be much
Okay.
off
easier.
the top of my head, looking at it, I would say it's,
Ben, do you have a favorite amongst the HVAC?
No, not at all.
none?
One of the things that I would like to avoid in reviewing this bid, and I think we ran into it with the website bid, is there was an inconsistency in the presentation of the information. Is it possible to take this bid, possibly working with Claude, and
Yeah.
say, the equipment is going to be this size, this brand, at this cost, labor is this cost?
I can
here's
read
our
these out if
warranty,
you wish.
and maybe we could do this tabular, and is there an urgency where we have to approve it tonight or within the next?
No, this could be held off another month.
So maybe we could take a look and re-present the information to the board at the next meeting, and then we could just sit there and check off.
My view is these, is since the contractor is doing the full job,
Yeah,
and we don't wanna split, since they're gonna be here and needs a crane for both, splitting the two compressors into separate bids from each one makes no sense because your price goes up.
Yeah.
Agreed.
The piece to be aware of in these is that for Air Comfort, who is our current one, Their one for the smaller unit
Way
is
out.
way, it's because they're not assuming, they intend to replace the refrigerant line to the basement. Where the others, and this may be because Air Comfort has some inside knowledge of the quality of that piping. Where the others have said, we will, we'll test. And actually, I think one of them, Elm says, we'll test, and if it fails, we will bid separately to replace all that.
So they're gonna pressure test.
And that's standard, you would expect that on any HVAC replacement. So that's why Air Comfort's is so high, they know they gotta replace that line. The others don't know that they have to, but even Elm has said, we might, and we'll bid you separately for that, so we may be hit with another $20,000 later from that.
Yeah.
But I can certainly grid these out. The thing is, basically, we're looking at a 7.5 ton and a 15 ton. And it doesn't matter who you get, they're gonna supply the one they get the best deal from.
Yeah.
It's still a package deal.
No, I know one's doing the Lennox.
Right.
One had, Elm had Carrier.
Right, it's who they have a relationship with the
That's
distributor.
fine.
They're all quality pieces of
Quality
equipment.
pieces of equipment.
There was nothing that stood out in these bids, except that differential with Air Comfort. And what I got out of that is they know they gotta replace those lines, which tells me that we'll get to testing those with the other two, and we have a high probability of seeing a second cost come in. And since we will have contracted with them, I mean, it's just a risk we're gonna have to take, to replace those lines either then or at some point in the near future.
Well,
But,
then, let's at least get apples to apples if that, so
Well-
put that line in with the other two.
I can go back and ask them what it would cost if they were to replace
If
those
they were-
lines.
Yeah, just so that we can look at
See what
everything
it says.
equal.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay. We'll just,
Okay.
do
While
we
you
need a
were-
motion
while-
to table that till the next meeting?
No, because we don't vote on anything, it just.
Just table.
Okay,
Sits
so
there,
it'll
right?
just be, it'll just turn into old business.
You should table it, you should table it for the next meeting.
We'll
That would be
table the
appropriate.
HVAC replacement.
Right, and if I
bid.
could get, bids.
Okay,
So the direction on the bids is to go back to the two that did not put in the cost for replacing the lines, and ask them to amend their bid for costing on replacing the lines.
If they did, if they had to.
If they had to do it. We're not saying they will, and I mean, even Air Comfort is saying they would do it, but yes, I see your point.
And ask Air Comfort if they think it is in imminent demise.
They wouldn't have bid it if they did it.
They-
Okay.
I'm not gonna ask them to double guess their,
Okay,
you give me the bid, I'm not gonna ask you to then do something
Okay.
funny to it.
While you were in your absence, Chris
Sorry.
and I will put on the building and grounds.
Sounds like a great deal.
Okay?
okay.
Let you know.
You know how to work a lawnmower?
I can start.
I do.
Okay.
I can do a push. I can
There's,
do a pull.
there's a cost savings for you.
Go ahead.
I'm not like.
I move that we table the
I'd say
HVAC
something,
replacement
but
contract until the
I want to
next
get myself
meeting.
in trouble.
Ice choice.
There a second on tabling it till the next meeting?
Second.
Bid.
Okay.
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
10D, Urban Garden Project.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
There was an article in the Pioneer Press today regarding your statement. Did you read it?
Yeah, I heard about it today.
Pioneer Press
So,
or
They're
Champion?
quoting
Champion,
you.
or Pioneer, yeah,
Oh,
Pioneer.
something.
They seem to be quoting you on this, and it seems that you postponed the planting, even though in April, we had a report that everybody passed it, and it was reviewed by us.
No one passed it.
Well, actually, the report,
It's on page
Talk
29
about
of the librarian's report of April.
Our concern was that it never went before the Building and Grounds Committee. It was never approved
It was
by
approved.
the Building and Grounds Committee.
It was approved. And it was all in detail as to everything cost and whatnot. This was in the librarian's report of April of this year. That's why I'm quite confused. You said you talked to the board, Mark. You didn't talk to me.
no, I didn't talk to the board.
Well, that's what it said, and they quoted you.
Well, these four,
didn't know about the garden. So, you know, that's,
It was
when
in
I
the
was,
just a note, it was in the April report in the very last paragraph. It does say, it is planned to build beds above ground to save money on soil testing. I am
What
finalizing
page?
details and will begin to work with key
Right,
state
plan,
organization leaders.
everything was
No,
plan,
I will
plan, plan.
begin, please let me finish. I am finalizing details and will begin to work with key staff and organization leaders to carry out the garden plan.
You did review it.
These four members weren't part of the board though.
Yeah.
until
Yes,
May.
this is the April report.
No, but this was in
This is
April,
in the
this
April
was done
status
prior
report.
to that.
They were on.
And so it was a
Right,
given that this was
everything-
going to be done.
Well, no, it wasn't, because everything was plan, 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 and what happened was, I walked up on the date that I had read the librarian's report from the month before, and I had read the plans for this, and I also read that it was all going to be done with volunteers. And I come out, and what do I see? I see all three of our, maintenance people, one whom obviously was getting time and a half because it wasn't his time to work, mixing the dirt together.
What is that?
Polo was there at 11 o'clock in the morning,
Johnny's gonna tell me that, okay.
mixing dirt together in the 85-degree heat. And Rosetta came walking out, and I said,
Was already out.
I thought, well, we were meeting, is
I
that,
was in the dirt.
and I said, I thought this was going to be a volunteer project. And she said, well, it was, but the
It
Niles
is.
Wisp people that were supposed to be here today couldn't come. So the dirt didn't get put in. Then, we're looking at this. Today is June, whatever it is, 9th. On June 7th, they were going to be planting seeds. I mean, I don't even know where to back this up to, but this is a tremendously ill-planned and ill-conceived
On the contrary,
idea.
this is a wonderful experience
No.
for the children that are going to be doing it.
It
It's
would
educational,
be-
it's recreational, and it's productive.
Art, it would be if there was any kind of a plan, which was not in the plan, wait. That
There's a
had,
plan.
wait, listen to me, let me finish. If there was any kind of a plan that had a calendar that said which days, which group had stewardship over this. It's kind of like if you want a dog and your parents,
No, we do not run the library.
no,
The
but we
librarians
do
do.
run the staff and well, no, only in, no, wait,
We
let me
do
back
not
that
run the
up.
staff.
We don't run the staff, we run, wait, that was a
Trust me, you don't wanna
misspeak.
run the stuff.
No, we don't wanna run the staff, that's a misspeak. We run the policy. And the policy, wait, is that it was a significant enough change to the building and grounds that it should have gone through the board to be approved
It did,
by the
it
building
did,
and
it
grounds.
did, it did. Here's the record.
That's the report, there's nothing in the minutes. There's nothing that says that it was. Now, when you look at it, how deep are these beds? Before you're talking about how wonderful, how deep are the beds?
I do not interfere with these things. I
Well,
just think that.
maybe you
that
want
it's
to
a-
because
No,
we have
don't
3
want to.
beds sitting in
We
the
don't
shade
want to.
in
That's
things
not
that
our
are
job.
too shallow to
That's
have
not
any
our
kind.
function.
Okay,
Wait.
can I throw some points in? Because as an avid gardener who randomly
gardener
plants stuff in my yard every year, I clearly plant them at various times, and I have a crapshoot as to whether it's successful or not. So granted, that will happen to any given garden, any given year. This one, again, granted, it's not hugely impactful, but this one again feels a little bit of a one-off for me, having made my soapbox stand earlier. I will not do it again, but another one on a one-off basis for me. And, you know, I've got to, as a new person who clearly didn't have to go through the election process. I would never win a popular vote in this committee because most people don't know who I am. I fully admit that. But I have to have some confidence in the level of the folks who have done this to a degree. They agreed to do it. They agreed it was the right thing. I think the fact that the village was included to make sure that it wasn't an eyesore, that it did all look right, that we had checked off all due diligence to say, and that's what I read in here, was checked off all the due diligence to say, is it right to go do it? Is it an eyesore, yes or no? And thankfully it's not an eyesore. But then we've got to let things, I mean, there's got to be something. We cannot go second guess every single thing. And I love the fact that we could go plant in April. And, you know, given the weather this year, plants in April probably wouldn't have really,
No good.
you know, it wouldn't have helped either from a seed standpoint. But all that being said, like, the intent is so that people learn. They have a play, I mean, it's part of, you know, what we do from a youth service standpoint. I think that is one of the huge things about this library is youth services has a bigger circuit than adult does. That means we're empowering this young community here to go, they have an interest in the library, they want to be here. How do I not want to foster that to a greater degree and bring in total
I
community?
agree with you 1,000%. My problem comes in on that. In this packet, it was purported to be a volunteer thing. But what's happening in actuality is that the maintenance, the daily maintenance for this garden is going to be falling on our paid staff. This wasn't planned out well enough. We needed to have commitments from what kids were going to be done at what time and have it go through the whole thing. The statement about if there's money left over, we'll put it into programming. No, programming comes first. There was nothing in Books and Beyond that supported it. There wasn't a whole, there should have been an entire module that went around this, that was in place.
We
There
didn't
should
have the
have,
money yet. That was the whole thing.
Why did this, that was why students not show up? Was it a transportation
It
problem?
was because of the holiday, so they couldn't get their,
They didn't get the permission
it's
so
the nature of
signed
the
in time.
beast. I mean, when you're dealing
Right.
with volunteers, it's the nature.
exactly,
Right,
that's
so-
my point. The nature of the beast is that
As we do every day on a daily basis at the library.
our staff is gonna be out there having to take care of this garden. I believe that it is a library function to teach about gardening, to teach about land management, to teach about, and with support, with lectures, with books, with speakers, with whatever. But it is not a library function to have librarians have to take their time and their master's degrees, that we're paying them for them to be librarians and not gardeners.
That is part of being a librarian.
I know, that
Trustee-
being a gardener
Trustee
is
Peters.
not being a librarian.
Trustee Peters, just to give you a little background on having managed volunteers in several different institutions besides this one, good, then you will understand what I'm going to say. When you manage, when you use volunteers in any project, whether it's gardening, taping books, aircraft restoration, museums, it is always done with a backbone of paid staff. There is no way the volunteers function as an autonomous unit without guidance and without some preparatory work being done by paid staff. When we are dealing with the types of volunteers that we've asked to come into this project, school children, people with other commitments, we build into it an understanding that we're going to have to be flexible in what our expectations of the volunteers are going to be. And that means that we have to have a backbone of paid staff. Do I go down to the reference desk and tell them, you're off reference right now, go weed in the garden? No, we're not going to do that. Rosetta will probably take a lead in this. I like to mess around in the dirt. I may weed occasionally if it gets to the weeding thing. At this point, what has happened is we've missed another week of the growing season. And I understand it, and I fully support the board's right to review any projects that are ongoing, but this is really part of our programming, and it is an event we design. It doesn't become something where we need to get, when we do programming, I don't come to the board and say, I'm going to have the balloon guy come tomorrow, is that okay? We have.
That's true. But we're
And
talking
it
about a
was-
compost pile on the front lawn.
No, we're not talking about a compost pile in the front lawn.
There's
We're
a
talking
compost
about,
pile in the,
and it's there's,
It's not mine.
please, what
That's
we're talking about is 3 beds.
And garage.
We had the location approved, we had the city, the village come over, Joe Wade and John said, come over, and they checked with the appearance review board, who said they were in support of the plan. So we wanted to make sure that we weren't doing anything that might upset our neighbors, at least legally. The board, prior to your arrival on it, was aware of the plan. Things go through stages also. There are going to be planning stages. Planning leads to execution. This is a program. I would expect at some point, all the planning becomes execution. We moved into the execution phase. This is natural with an event. And that's where we stood. It was unfortunate that the children did not have their permission slips signed in time and did not come over and help us that morning. But at some point, you know, we have to be flexible about these things.
I know that in the press, we're trying to be made to look like the Grinch that stole Christmas, and
Um,
that's just not.
I don't think so.
right.
I actually read that,
So-
no, I read that as President Alvarez having a good opportunity to explain exactly why he placed it on hold, and I agree with it completely. And I doubt,
I think, Mr.,
So-
were you broadsided
well,
by that? Did you know
so-
that that was?
I got a call at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and said, hey, tell me about the garden.
Just so you
And
know,
I-
I had, let's
No,
explain
wait.
why.
I just,
Wait,
let me, so anyhow, so okay, there's a garden in front of a library. Good. I didn't know about it. Kathy didn't know about it. Others didn't know about it. Okay. If it were more clearly pointed out, Arthur, as this is written, it sounds like we're planning on doing a garden. And if we are going to
Should've called
devote,
me, Mark.
well, no, I didn't know who knew
Well,
what.
we were on the board
So,
before, so yes.
So,
Just knowledge.
I guess when we embark upon major projects, we maybe need to take this just one more step that, okay, this was approved. Being that there's resources in the library that are being devoted to doing this in lieu of, being we need to do some work in order to have something for the volunteers to work on. Perhaps if there was a roll call vote, because this does actually involve spending money, it would have been in the minutes, we would have known it was approved. There would not have been any kind of questions.
It's the same thing, but I just said, we don't there's costs involved in every program that goes on here. There's an employee standing in the back room at all times when there's people in there. We do not approve that every time.
Correct.
That is not what we would do. We'd be
But if
logged
this
down
was
here for
I'm
hours.
just throwing it out, if this is major and
Yes.
it's something different, maybe, and this would benefit future boards,
That changes
maybe
the
we
look
have
of
to
the
do,
library.
maybe we need to do a little bit better job of just
I think
clearly
the difficulty
pointing out.
here is that this project, this program spans a major transition in the board.
Yeah,
That all the things you're talking about are part of the understanding that the prior group had, and that you're doing your due diligence to come back and look at that.
we're not making it out to be a bad project.
No, and I
Just
didn't
a,
hear that from anybody.
Yeah.
That's certainly not the thrust of this. But I understand your need to find where sea level is in terms of operations here. And when we talk about a project like this, even though they're going to be volunteers in this, we know, and the prior board did, and I will work to educate the new members of the board on this, that there is going to be support from various parts of the staff. When we do Tech Fest, okay, there is a ton of staff time that goes into preparing that. It is directly analogous to this event. I mean, those displays and that material and those presenters don't magically materialize.
Mhm.
Staff puts in, the professional library staff puts in hours and hours of time prepping for this. It's part of their job. Doing things like bed building and moving dirt and stuff like that is part of maintenance, job. And we squeeze in those tasks where we can by shifting some other tasks that we might find flexible. They were out there for maybe 45 minutes, an hour on this certainly isn't going to cripple our operations out there. But all of our events require some staff participation. It's just the way an institution like this has to run.
I am a gardener, and if you want to see my gardens at 8511 School Street, you're welcome to look at them. I live right around the corner of the library. I will be checking. I understand you had $1,500 in grants,
It's not grants, they're donations from businesses.
donations. You should have an absolutely gorgeous,
I believe you're right.
for $1,500, if I had $1,500 to put into my garden, I'd even have a nicer garden than I have right now.
Well, we could annex your property.
Maybe one day, maybe that'd be the way to
Turn part of it into a parking lot.
Parking lot, hey, it's,
But I think it's fair
table
to,
it for now.
I'm not in a position to make anything like that.
But, I said, you know, it has, I look at it as borderline library, but it has a worthwhile project, it's teaching young people. That's part of it. I would say this is your first year. See how it goes.
test and learn.
See how it goes. I just hope that any employee who doesn't want to pick weeds is you know, made to pick weeds.
It'll be a consensual operation.
I may go out and pick a few weeds myself if I have
When
to.
you're missing volunteers, I think
Well,
you
you're on
heard
the
trustee
building
Berg and I
committee.
volunteered, so let's be clear.
first
We're
time
missing
I
folks, we can call out trustees who happy to get in the mud.
Shall we put a plaque with your name on the end of one of the
Please.
beds?
Oh, no way.
No more plaques. I got enough plaques for baseball, I know what to do with them. If you want one for the library, I'll give you
We have two, and we're growing that collection every year.
I don't think you're the only gardener here.
I got another volunteer for weeding. Go.
Yeah. But my task there will be to harvest whatever.
Okay, so, is there a motion?
Move forward.
Their motion to move that forward, how quickly can it be planted?
We'll send out invites.
I have to see with my volunteers, I think I
Yeah,
have a.
we'll get the project ready.
Find my volunteers, I have to re-coordinate everything for a new planting. We'll do it.
Empire usually will be there.
This wasn't
Yeah, so
handled
the-
perfect.
Thank what plants are.
So that little girl was talking about.
Love and passion. That's the way it should be at a young kids.
once they learn there's working passion with something.
Yeah, you know, learning curves are just been something to be a little short, but I know. You do it a little while, put a little here, put a little there. It works its way through.
Guys, I think that it's doomed to failure. I think that it's too late in the planting season. I think that the way it's laid out, if you look at it, carrots grow down, these things are in beds that are this deep. I think there's not enough purchase. They're putting chicken wire things on the top of it. Anytime somebody wants to get in, somebody from staff is gonna have to be picking up these ugly chicken wire things, taking them off, putting them back on. There's things for rain barrels out there that's gonna do nothing but breed West Nile virus mosquitoes in it.
Kathy, you're gonna have to let them find it out.
Catherine, the purpose really
Let them
is
find it out.
to
It's
produce
not fair to
produce,
the
but to
staff.
involve
It is
people.
not fair to the
Yes.
staff.
The idea is to introduce our patrons into the process of growing their own food. Whether we produce 1 carrot or 3 or 30 is not, but it's an educational tool. The desire is not to be highly functional, but to be educational.
It's too staff intensive.
No, I
You're
don't think so.
asking, Rosetta, how much of this time do you expect, how much of this work
It's
do you
like Paul
expect to
said,
be
it's brand
done?
new to us, so we'll find out
Well,
through the process.
I'm
What I can
sorry.
tell you is that I know I've worked with volunteers before in many large projects. I can just tell you that in my mind, we're going to be successful. We're not, then we failed. But we won't know until we try.
How many plots do you have in there?
We have 3, 4 by
I
8.
can put the plants in
And
2 hours.
this is, I also had a master gardener that went over the plan with me. And actually, she's the one who gave me, suggested 2 books that I've been using. And she says this is a new thing, this type of gardening, so maybe you're not aware of it.
No, I am aware of it.
She
I
said
don't
this
see
is
how you're
great.
gonna, I don't know how you're gonna grow a cucumber in 1 square foot. Do you know how big a cucumber plant is?
We have different, we have it managed in a certain way that we,
And all those tomato plants, I mean, are you a gardener?
I garden. I'm an amateur gardener.
Okay.
But I also have Nancy
I have a
Weathers, who's
pretty big,
behind me, who is actually a very good gardener. And she's also an assistant with the project.
I hope you're not expecting her to use her staff time to weed the garden.
Oh, well, I wouldn't, see, actually Nancy would not be leading I have volunteers that will weed the garden. I'm sure I will weed the garden. I'm not
Paul, are you
sure
gonna motion?
what else you want me to tell you.
If you need it again, I'll second.
Yeah. Paul, did you motion on this?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I just said it nicely, that I said it would be I'm not gonna, stand in the way.
Okay, so is that a motion? Maybe?
Is that a motion? Paul, is that a motion to move
As the
forward?
building and grounds committee, maybe you make a motion?
In Catholic circles, you said that nihil obstat, let nothing stand in the way.
Paul, is that a motion to move
It's
forward
Latin,
with the
yes.
garden?
It's not Catholic, it's Latin.
That's about the only place you might see it.
No, I took Latin.
Very good.
Paul, was that a motion to move forward with the garden?
Okay.
Second.
Yes, seconded.
Show it.
Show of hands. Okay,
I voted no for the record.
okay, Kathy Peters. E and F are taken care of. There is a change of staff in service date from August 5 to August 19.
Yeah, it's just a date that works better for us. That's okay. It's 1 day a year we close the library so that we can get various training that we need to have because we span so many hours, there are parts of teams that don't see each other ever.
Right.
And allows us to do that. We also do fire and we do the required fire and evacuation training as part of
Okay,
this.
so that's, motion,
I motion
Second.
to approve the change.
Generally, we bring something like this and just ask for the
Okay.
verbal approval, not make any, just say, I'm gonna do
Okay,
this.
fine.
For
You bet.
There's a note in here on donations, H.
Okay.
Kathy, you want to,
Yeah, it's come to our attention that the money that's donated, that the money that comes from the books that are donated to the library, is actually given to the Friends, and then the Friends turns around and gives it to us. And also, that we collect food, in exchange for fines. And, there was $800 of, fine money that went in the way of foods.
I'm sorry, are
Do we
you
get
stating that we gave money
No,
to someone?
no, no, no.
We
I'm
collect.
saying that you collected
There was an
800
equivalent
cans of food
Yes, there was an equivalent.
to
We do
offset
this,
fines.
right, this is a board-approved project we do every
Right.
year for the Niles Food Kitchen.
Exactly.
And we waive fines, not lost book fees
Right.
and not damaged book fees.
Exactly.
For, I think this time it was $1 a can.
Mhm.
And we raised a couple £100 worth of food, and we waived $800 worth of fines. And we did this,
$800
we did
right.
the same thing last year. I think we did it twice last year. With the Friends, the board made a decision several years ago to, the Friends actually thank you. A year and a half ago, became a 501c3 organization. They took over the book sale. We use our cash registers. We don't want a friend standing at the circ desk all day. We ring it up for them. And then the money goes, we transfer the money to them how often? Once a month? Okay. And it goes into their account, and then they do things to the benefit of the library. They've bought us equipment over the last year and a half to a considerable sum. The TV's back downstairs. Oh no, it's over there. They bought us that, and the CD and the DVD player under. They bought us some other equipment, and it's been very useful. And because they're a 501c3, they don't pay any tax either, just as we would. So it relieves us of having to manage the book sale. It puts them in a position to look to expand the book sale, which they have been doing at Spring Blast, and they're now working on a large annual book sale. And basically for the only labor of ringing a sale up and putting the money and making the change into the cash register, we get the proceeds basically from the book sale.
Well, I move that all materials and monies donated to the library and all monies from the sale of donated materials remain library assets and be reflected in the Yorkville Public Library income statement under the revenue, 3950 donations, yes.
Okay, having just had a hearty debate on volunteers, this is a group that is functioning well as a volunteer group or nobody
Actually, they're not.
necessary. Well, they,
They pulled
They'll
out,
go away after this.
yeah,
This will kill us.
Exist.
they pulled out of the parade, they're not going to be in the parade. The problem with it is, the last several hundred books that I donated to the library, I was not aware, there is nothing listed downstairs that proceeds from the sale of these books go to the Friends. I was under the impression, and I don't know why any patron wouldn't be, that the books that are donated to the library go to directly benefit the library. But every other Friends, I travel a lot, and when I go, yeah, right, and when I get in early, I go to libraries. And one of the things I've been talking to them about is about their Friends group. And the one thing that seems unanimous about all the Friends group is that it's the Friends' job to bring money into the library. This is the only library that I'm aware of that subsidizes the Friends. That is backwards. And since I was unaware where my donated money was, where my donated books were going, and there's no sign downstairs that says that, I see no reason why we are giving that money to the Friends, who turns around and then gives us what we're asking for in the first place. It's a big circuit that really goes nowhere.
We do not give money to the Friends.
You allow them to keep the proceeds of the book sales, that is, in
Right.
essence, given. Those assets were donated to the Morton Grove Public Library. In turn, then, in effect, the Morton Grove Library is donating those assets to the Friends, if you want to look at it that way, with no, without telling the public that that's what's happening. And that's not the way to do it.
So a sign on the bookshelf would change that? Because what you'll find is these won't be an asset any longer, they'll be a liability. You'll have piles of books, which has happened in the past, which we just had to stop collecting books because there's nowhere to put them. Because there was only one person in the last 10 years before the foundation of the Friends group, and that was Estelle Huberman, who donated all her time and energy to come here and sort through those books and put them on the shelf. It's highly labor intensive. It is a job that
Are part of this library should remain part of this library. If I donate something to the library, which I did, something of value to the library, people should be
So-
aware that it's not there.
So, suggestion here.
Right.
Perhaps what you want to do today might be tabled, and we think about talking to friends of other libraries to find out what they're doing that encourages, I mean, what do they do to have a robust friends group
The
that we
Friends-
might not be
Yeah,
doing?
I can tell you what they do. They visit
Alright.
local businesses, they lobby for involvement. Their job is to raise money,
Can
not
we
to be
bring,
given
can we
money.
bring one of their fundraising friends, people in to meet with our group to provide them with some pointers and help on how
Well,
to
they're
make this
separate
group
from
more
us. If
effective?
they want to,
The
they
discussion is
certainly
about how
could.
well the Friends function or not.
Yeah.
Since they are a separate
They're
institution,
separate.
this conversation should be happening with the Friends board,
Correct,
and not
correct.
here.
Yes,
Right.
I agree. So that's why I'm saying maybe.
But we do have the power to not let them have the book sale in the library any longer.
We can kick them out.
But, I mean, that
I
was,
wouldn't look at it as kicking it out. I'd be looking at it as retaining the funds that are being donated to us.
but that would mean them not having anything to do with it.
You're
The
talking in
the funds only come because someone sells the books. If, well,
Funds
we don't
only
get
come
money
because
in, we
people
get books in.
donate books.
We get books in. And to convert those books into
Maybe
money
pull this
requires,
one to next month after giving it some more thought.
we just gotta do the work.
And then get engaged with the friends to see if we can't churn it and make it work better. Because this could always be revisited.
Well, if you want, but this is something that our own volunteers It would give our own volunteers something to do.
Which
Volunteers are already busy.
Which volunteers are you referring to?
Our library, our 70 volunteers that we had working for us last month.
They
We've
They
got
all have
volunteers.
stuff to do?
they all have stuff to do.
Well, you know what? There's always room for more volunteers.
Do you have more volunteers?
You betcha.
Use them.
I,
Let's use them.
Get them.
I'll use them to sell books.
that's the answer.
It's a philosophical point.
It's a legal point.
So let's move this. You want to table this discussion for the next,
Table.
or do you want to?
I move that we table this discussion
I
until
second.
next month.
You second? Voice vote?
Aye.
Aye. Rewrite the thoughts, repurpose friends. I think we'll be better off.
I can't repurpose funds. They're a
Well,
separate
they
board.
can't, but they can, we can talk to them. Program expenditure approval, point I.
I have nothing to say. Table it.
Okay, we'll table till the next meeting.
That's almost ongoing.
Which brings us to executive session.
We need to make a motion to go into executive session for the stated reasons, and it'll have to be a roll call vote to do that.
Yeah. Move the executive session, deliberation regarding the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, dismissal of specific employees of the public body, or legal counsel for the public body.
You guys make up the other 694 people? Gotta make you guys ask, it's only you.
Sell tickets.
Yes. Donate to the Friends of Morgan Library. 25 cents each.
Okay, go ahead, tell them what we discussed.
All right, we met to talk about bringing on legal counsel who would be a specialist in labor law, somebody that we could consult when needed time to time. Now we motion for,
Sure, unless you want to ask the executive director, what is the one case with the unemployment insurance, is that still, I know we were ruled against, whether they got
There's no
appealed.
case. First, let's be clear about that, there's no case. We had an employee who was laid off by another firm that they worked first part-time. The Illinois Department of Employment Security determined that the library was the last chargeable employer. Unfortunately, at the time that they looked at her work cycle, it was, she was filling in for some vacancies, for some vacations. So it was a high cycle for her in terms of pay. We protested the matter several times. Every time we got a bill from IDES, we would protest it. We had 2 attorneys from Peregrine and Stein working on the issue. It took, we did a phone hearing with a judge, not a judge, but arbitrator. Well, not an arbitrator either, but, and we lost on that, and we protested that. And then eventually, they finally explained to us, after we talked with our HR firm, they explained it to us partially, but didn't fully understand what IDES was doing either. After a year, IDES explained that, well, here's how it actually works, and we've been asking for this explanation for a year. And the solution was that we increased her hours here such that she was no longer getting any unemployment through us. And that's where the issue stands at this point. But there was never a court case. No one was sued over this. It didn't go to court. It's IDES, and we worked through their regulatory process.
Okay, so we discussed just bringing on, talking to another firm in case there is any other, in the future, labor disputes or whatever, because they,
At no cost unless we use
I have no problem with that.
okay,
Your
so,
motion?
I move that we retain,
Clark Baird.
yeah, Clark
Clark
Baird
Baird.
Smith
Second.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Show of hands.
Aye.
Second discussion was bringing on legal counsel to sit with the board during the board meetings. We decided we would ask this lawyer to come and talk to us and present their, say, cost benefit of doing so. So, while we have a specialist in library law, we now have a specialist in labor law, and maybe we'll have somebody who is a specialist in board procedure in law. So,
A generalist.
yeah, so, we discussed having Frank Tennant come in and talk to us at the next meeting and provide that, say, cost-benefit analysis. Second on that one, or a motion to,
Just from a timing standpoint, I'm just thinking, so our next meeting as a board is the 7th of July. Seventh?
14 maybe. Second
The
Thursday.
second would be the
Second
14th.
Thursday.
Oh, okay, so it's the 14th. Okay, I just want to make sure after the majority of the new folks go through training that, like, we do that after the fact. I just, that
I'm
way-
with you there, yeah.
Okay, so I didn't want to necessarily put it on, but
That's also.
timing check, yes,
That's
works
also
fine.
Bastille Day in French.
There you go.
Actually,
You gotta tell me what the,
it's
I
the
mean,
ninth.
do I
The
wear
ninth.
The
something?
ninth.
Say red, white, or blue?
No,
No.
14th.
French colors
A
too?
beret on your
The
head.
14th would be
It's the 14th,
14?
yeah.
Okay, so then that's sufficient. I'm
Okay.
assessing the double check on timing.
All right.
Because we all need to do our due diligence and learn.
Right.
All right,
If you have a
so it's Frank to come in.
Just invite him.
Communications issue, point 11. None? Do I hear
Well,
anybody?
just that they weren't coming, just the friends saying that they weren't coming to the 4th of July
That's right.
parade.
move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn, second.
Oh, I
All right.
see.
Second.
Thank you, everybody.
Amen.